Hello fashion lovers, welcome again to my YouTube channel. I'm Fluxify Apparels, and today I'll be teaching you on how to cut and sew this stylish button down dress with an elastic by the waist, pocket by the side, a cut together sleeve and a Dolman collar, right? So if this is what we want to learn, let's get right into the tutorial in details. So first off, right here you'll be needing your scissors, your chalk, right, your Ankara, your elastic, and your French curves and rulers, right? So this particular tutorial you can also make use of your belt. So first off, I folded my fabric, right, unfold it, unfold now to the extent to which I want my sleeve to be. That's my shoulder to my sleeve length. But if you don't know how to take your shoulder to your sleeve measurement, you don't need to panic. What you do first is you put down your shoulder measurement, that's shoulder divided by 2. Then from that shoulder measurement, you're going to be marking the length of the sleeve that you want, right? That was very easy. So that is your shoulder to your sleeve. So it's a cut together shoulder, and that's why it's like that. So from that, your starting point, you're going to be coming down by your bust measurement, like your shoulder to your bust point. Sorry, your shoulder to your bust point. And mine, I'm using 12 inches. So your shoulder to your bust point can be 11, can be 10, can be 9, depending on your size, right? So I went ahead now to mark it on the other part, and I'm going to go ahead right now to connect my point. So for the shoulder to waist, I'm going ahead now to mark my shoulder to waist, which is 18. So you can mark 18 and a half, you can mark 18, as the case may be. So from that, my shoulder to waist, right, I'm going to be connecting the point for the shoulder to bust point, and I'm also going ahead now to connect the points for the shoulder to my waist. So now for the hip, I'm going to be putting my tape on my waistline and marking down my waist to hip. So for this particular tutorial, my waist to hip is 10 inches. So I'm going to go ahead now to connect the lines or the points. So next up right now is to mark out the desired gown length. So for this particular practical, I'm going to be exhausting everything in my Ankara. So the entire Ankara will carry my M allowance, and that is fine. So next now, I'm going to be verifying whatever I had from my shoulder to my sleeve, and I'm going to be marking it on my bust line. So right, you can see that you can go ahead and measure yours. Mine is about 20 something, 21, 20, you get. I'm going to mark it down, right, so I can have a straight line on that part. And that part now is going to be serving as my round sleeve, right? That part is going to be serving as my round sleeve. That is my sleeve opening. So next up is my width of my neckline. So I marked out 3.5 inches and I came down by 1.5 inches. That 1.5 inches is going to be serving as my back neckline, because we're cutting our back out, a back pattern first. So right away, I'm going to be curving my neck line, my round neck, and that's what you have over there. So next up now, I'm going to be connecting that neckline to my shoulder slope. So by my shoulder slope, I'm coming down by 1 inches, and I'm going to be connecting it back to my neckline. Now that now serves as my shoulder slope and my shoulder, new shoulder line, right? Is that clear? I know you understand. So now that's how it looks like. So I'm going to be going ahead now to mark out my bust. So I went ahead now to mark my bust measurement divided by 4. Then I gave 1.5 to 2 inches allowance. Now I'm not putting so much of an allowance. So now on my waistline, I went ahead and marked out my waist measurement divided by 4 and added my 2 inches, just 2 inches, right? So so that when you're sewing, you're going to be sewing like half an inch, then the rest 1.5 will serve as ease. Okay, so on my hip measurement, I'm going to be marking out my hip divided by 4, as you can see, and I'm going to be adding 2 inches. Now that 2 inches, like I said, will serve as a very unique allowance, right? So whatever you have on your hip measurements, that's what you're going to be marking at the full length. That's the M part of the gown. So sorry it's not showing right, but you know what that M looks like. So I'm going to be connecting with my ruler just the way you see me, and I'm going to be connecting the bust side to that's the allowances, to that of the waist with a curve like this, and I'm going to be flipping the curve over to curve that on my hip. That is, my waist to my hip would have that curve. So this is what it is looking like right away, right? So on that my hip to my M allowance, I want to make it curve, not straight, and that's why I'm using my French curve, right? My master ruler. Okay, so I've gotten the curve I want on that area, and it is very okay. So next up is my armhole side. I'm going to put a slight curve over from the bust area to the sleeve area, just like this, a slight curve, so that I can stay relaxed on my body when I'm done sewing. So now from that, the M of your sleeve, I'm going to be taking out 1.5. You can take out 1.5, you can take out 1 inches, and I'm going to be connecting it down to my shoulder line, just like this. So to have a slight curve, you can use your ruler, you can use your armhole curve if you can't master the act of using your armhole curve, right? So I just wanted a slight curve on that area, right? So I'm going to be taking it out and using my ruler to connect it down to my shoulder line. So now I have a slight curve, and it is very okay. So I went ahead now to cut out, but as you can see that I'm cutting out like and leaving some inches on the shoulder line and the sleeve opening. So I've placed my fabric on fold again, and on that center front, I'm going to be keeping an excess of 2 inches while I was done cutting the sides of this particular shirt dress, right? So now as you can see in the center front, I came out by 2.5 inches for my button allowance. So go ahead and mark yours like that. I was going ahead now to verify what I have, and when I verified, it was 2.5 inches from the neck, or from the shoulder line down to the M line, and it is very okay by me. So for now, I'm going to be coming down from my my neckline on the front by 6, 7, 8, depending on what works for you. If you want it to be open, yes, you can do 7, 8, and 9, as the case may be. But for this particular tutorials, I'm using 8 inches. And just the way you see me, I'm going to be drawing a slanted line, like a V line, right? I'm going to be drawing a V line that meets with my current back neck line, the wideness, right? Now that particular place is going to be serving as my front neck line. So I'm going ahead now to adjust it in a way that it does not run away from its current position, so that I don't have issues after cutting, right? So I'm going to be going ahead now to cut out my front shoulder line, right? Now from that front shoulder line, I'm going to be cutting out the original neckline for the back on my front pattern, and I'm going to be notching my button allowance, if that's clear, right? So on the back, notch your center back, notch your waistline, and notch your hip line. When you're done notching, you remove your center back, and as you can see, I'm going to retrace my neckline to the shape I want it to carry or to have. So I'm done, and I'm just going to be cutting out like so. So I'm going to be opening the center front, and I'm also going to be going ahead to add the facing to this particular dress. So folded my facing, this width I want, the wideness I want, and I'm going to be placing my center front over it just like this. And so I'm going to be cutting it out. Remember, it's on fold, so I'll be needing to open the center part of it. So I'm going to open it just like this, and straight up I'm going to be opening the center. Now this facing is going to be serving for one side of our shirt and shirt gown, and the other side of the center front, right? Just like this. So I'm going to be now right side facing right side like this. So if part of the facing is facing another center front, we're going to be sewing from that your neckline down all the way to the hem line, just the way you see my hands are going. And I'm going to be bringing the other part of the center front. I'm going to be placing the facing right side facing right sides. So the pocket is very easy. Cut a square meter from your fabric, length, desired length of what you want, and the wideness of what you want. So I went ahead now to fold my fabric into fold. Now this is going to be serving as our collar for this particular shirt gown. So you can cut your desired length, right? So the width I'll be using for this particular so the wideness for this particular dress is about 2.5. So you sew on 1/2 inch, and the remaining one is 2 inches. So the length is based on your desired length. So I went ahead now to sew the facing of my fabric. So that particular place that is opening, you can use an hemming gum if you don't want to stitch on it, right? So now I brought my back pattern, and this is what it looks like, right? Your back pattern should be looking like this. So, and I'm going to be placing my front pattern over it like this. Now your shoulder should be the same thing, like meeting the back shoulder. You're going to be stitching all the way with 1/2 inch. You're going to be stitching on that your shoulder from your neckline to your sleeve area. When you sew for one side, you're going to be sewing for the other part of this dress, right? So go ahead now and sew 1/2 inch on the shoulder line. Now when you're done sewing on that your sleeve opening, you're going to be folding in, right? You're going to be folding in on both sides. So I was done sewing and I was done folding in on the hem side, as you can see, right? I went ahead to iron, then I sew. Then you bring your back pattern. Now you know for this back pattern we are going to be having elastic on it, right? Now when you are sewing, and the pocket, so when you are sewing or you are trying to shape your dress, now you shape from the sleeve down, from that sleeve down to your waistline, and you stop, right? Now but first let's work on our elastic. The elastic, you have to create a elastic casing. Now just do it as though you're creating a bias, right, with your fabric. Then but with the wideness of that band should be exactly your elastic, right? So now I'm going to be marking where I want my elastic to start from. And you know the actual waistline for this particular dress is 18, right? But I want my elastic for the back to start at 17.5, right? You can use your exact waistline, that's the one you marked initially, but I want to come up by like 1 inch, that's like 17. So that's where my elastic casing is going to rest on. So now remember that I left about 2 inches for my sewing allowance, right? So from that 2 inches, I'm going to be marking that 2 inches down, just the way I'm marking out, right? Then you will not use that, you will not start your elastic casing from that 2 inches, because we want to sew about 1/2 inch. So you're going to be marking 1/2 inch from your waistline, like from the side seams. You're going to mark 1/2 inch or 1 inch, depending on the seam allowance you want to sew. So I will go ahead and mark where I want to sew from. I've marked that, and I've marked on the other side. Now the distance between these two, I'm going to measure in. That's what my band, that's the length of my band. So I've created my band. As you can see, I cut certain wideness or width, right, and I folded like half an inch in, and ironed it. I'm just going to check out the length, and the length should be same thing with what we have on our center back or on our back pattern. So I'm going to be placing it over, and it is what I want. So on that edge, I'm going to fold it in. I'm going to fold it in so you can see the way I'm placing my, it is very easy to understand. So right away, I'm going to be pinning on this particular back, right, and I'm going to be sewing on one end like this down, and I'm going to be sewing on the other end. So now I'm bringing my elastic and I'm stretching it so I can know the length of what I want. So I've done that. For my waistline, I'm going to be coming down by 2.5 or 3 inches, right, for my pockets, as you can see. So this is my pocket, right? So I'm going to be sewing like this. But before you sew like that, it has to be placed like this. Now remember that it is right side facing right side, like this. The same way I placed my pocket, that's what you're going to be placing. That's the same way you're going to be placing your pocket, right? Then I'm going to be taking the other end to the other part of the dress, right? I know you understand this. So that's how I'm going to be placing my pocket. I'm going to be sewing from the sleeve area right inside my pocket and all the way to the other side. So now I'm going to be showing you how I got that elastic look on that back. So you see, I've already placed my bone casing, I'm always calling it the bone casing, elastic casing. So I'm going to be fixing it inside, right? I'm fixing it inside, right? I'm going to be stretching it to the extent I want that elastic to be stretched. So when I was done, I'm going to bring in both the front pieces and the back pieces together with my sewn pocket, and I'm going to be sewing my side seams from the sleeve opening down to the pocket, right, and down to the main dress again, right? And I'm going to be folding my hem allowance. Now go ahead and fold your hem allowance depending on how you've left it to be. So this is how the dress looks like. I'm going to bring the band for the neck. Now there's an opening right from the center back and the center back of the dress. You just pin them together inside the remaining opening, and I'm going to be sewing all the way down, and that's for the neck. And the hem parts, you're going to be folding your desired allowance you left, right? I'm going to be showing the finished product on this dress, right, on the mannequin. Yeah, this is the color I was talking about, and this is the button down dress, right? This is the cut together sleeve, as you can see, and that's the elastic behind the dress. Yours should be looking like this, and that's the pocket side, right? So the dress is beautiful. If you've been following from the beginning, you should be having just exactly what you have on the mannequin. Now please, if you don't understand, if there's any way that is confusing to you, please drop on the comment section. I'll be attending to every of your questions. Now please, if you've not subscribed to our channel, if you've not joined the community, please do as well to join the community. Subscribe, like, and share. It's bye for now.